She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply stood in line, quiet, respectful, first-class ticket in hand. And still, they pulled her off the plane, not for a threat, not for a policy violation, but for something more silent and far more dangerous. Assumption. A decision was made by a glance, a whisper, a nod from someone in uniform that she didn't belong. And so they removed her, publicly, without explanation, without shame. But what no one knew, not the gate agent, not the supervisor smirking from behind his tablet, not even the captain who turned away when she passed by, was that the woman they just humiliated, she didn't just hold a boarding pass, she held the power to cancel their next $4 billion. This isn't just a story about race. This is a story about how quiet power moves. And what happens when it's forced to speak. It was just past 6 a.m. when Nia Bennett stepped into Terminal C. The airport was quiet, filled with half-asleep travelers and the hum of rolling luggage. She wore a simple grey coat, faded jeans, and sneakers that had seen more miles than most of the passengers combined. No designer labels, no entourage, just her and a canvas tote over her shoulder. Inside the tote, tucked beneath a scarf, was a sealed envelope, stamped, waxed, confidential. But no one looked close enough to notice. She moved with the kind of calm that made her almost invisible. She wasn't there to be seen. She was there to see. At the check-in desk, a man in a navy blazer looked up at her, then back down. "Priority line is for executive and first class only," he said without checking her pass. Nia raised her phone, boarding pass glowing. "Seat 1A, first class." He blinked, then smiled. The kind of tight, forced smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Right. My mistake." At security, her pre-check status was ignored. "Random screening," the agent said, motioning her aside. No eye contact, no kindness, just cold repetition, like protocol built on quiet prejudice. Nia said nothing, no protest, no scene. She watched, memorized, faces, and kept walking, steady, silent, toward a flight that would change everything. As the line moves forward, her heart starts to race, but she keeps her face neutral, steady. She steps up to the TSA agent, who glances at her, then at her passport. Without a word, he waves her forward into the small area marked for random checks. A simple gesture, but the sudden shift in tone sets off a ripple of discomfort as she places her bag on the conveyor, trying to ignore the lingering stares from other passengers. She's been through this before, but there's something about today, something different. Her documents are scrutinized a little too closely, the agent flipping through them with deliberate slowness. His eyes linger on the page, then dart up to meet hers for a brief second. A flicker of suspicion. From the corner of her eye, she catches another agent whispering to the first one, exchanging quiet words, too quiet for her to hear clearly, but she catches enough to feel the weight of their judgment. "Definitely her," one agent says with a half smirk, and then they both laugh quietly, as if she isn't even standing there. Her fingers tighten around the edge of the counter, but she doesn't react. No words, no protest. She's calm, in control. The smile she forces isn't a sign of fear. No, it's a mask. A mask that hides something much deeper. The audience begins to feel her strength, her silent power. No one knows what she's carrying, but she's ready to face whatever comes next. The agents don't know it yet, but they've made the wrong choice in targeting her. She's not what they think she is. Nia steps onto the plane, her gaze scanning the cabin. Seat 1A, first class, just as promised. But as she settles into her seat, something feels off. A woman in the aisle seat gives her a long, wary look before quickly clutching her bag tighter, almost protectively, as if Nia is a threat. It's subtle, but it's there. A quiet tension that hangs in the air. She places her bag in the overhead compartment, her every movement measured and deliberate. As she takes her seat, the flight attendants greet the passengers around her with smiles, their voices warm and polite. But when their eyes fall on her, there's a hesitation, a shift. Nia watches as they continue to serve others, passing her by as if she doesn't exist. No smile, no welcome aboard, just silence. The subtle sting of being ignored is impossible to ignore. The other passengers, comfortably settled, receive their drinks, their snacks. But Nia is left alone. The empty cup holder in front of her a stark reminder of her invisibility. The attendants move down the aisle again, but when they pass her, they don't even glance in her direction. She doesn't react. She doesn't speak up. Instead, Nia remains still, the envelope resting on her lap untouched. Her eyes are locked on the passing flight attendants, observing every detail, every glance, every slight. Her silence is loud. They don't know it, but she's watching them, every move, every glance. She's far more aware than they think. The minutes stretch on and the silence around Nia deepens. The attendants move through the cabin again, offering warm towels, drinks and menus to everyone except her. Each time they pass her with a subtle, almost practiced indifference, as if she's not even there. It's becoming impossible to ignore, and yet Nia doesn't flinch. Her posture remains perfectly composed, the envelope still resting on her lap, the only sign of life in the stillness of her form. The murmur of quiet conversation fills the air. A passenger sitting across the aisle leans toward their neighbor and whispers just loud enough for Nia to catch, "She's in first?" The words carry a hint of disbelief, and it's clear they're not talking about the seat. The way they say it, their tone, isn't a question, but an accusation, a judgment passed without a single word exchanged. From the front of the cabin, Nia hears a soft laugh from one of the flight attendants. "Probably used points," she says, as though it explains everything. The laughter hangs in the air for a moment, cold and dismissive. Nia's gaze flickers for a fraction of a second toward the source of the laughter, but she doesn't let it show. Inside, however, everything is calculating. Every look, every whisper, every slight. She's measuring it all, watching, listening, taking note of every detail with cold precision. She's not invisible. She's just biding her time, waiting for the right moment. As the plane levels out, a staff member approaches her with a tight, rehearsed smile. "Excuse me, ma'am," he says, voice too polite. "We need you to move to the back of the plane due to weight distribution. It's just a precaution, the E." Words hit her like a quiet slap. She doesn't flinch, doesn't blink. Instead, Nia looks up at him, her expression calm, firm. "No." It's a simple answer, but it's enough to make the air around them crackle with intensity. The staff member freezes for a moment, the polite facade faltering just slightly before he recovers, nodding curtly. But as he walks away, his steps are quicker, sharper. He doesn't know it yet, but that one word, her no, has set something in motion. Behind the scenes, things start to shift. The flight attendants exchange quick, uneasy glances. A few minutes later, the captain is notified. A behavioral report is filed. Non-compliant passenger refusing seat reassignment. Mid-flight, as the plane cruises smoothly through the sky, a security note is quietly typed up. Passenger displaying resistance may pose a security risk. No one notices it being filed. No one sees the invisible chain of events being set. In motion, all because of one calm, firm word. Nia remains still, the envelope still resting on her lap. She's aware of everything happening around her, but her silence, her refusal to conform, has now sealed her fate. The plane begins its descent, and as the wheels touch down, Nia feels a shift in the air, like the calm before a storm. As she exits the jet bridge and steps into the terminal, two officers are waiting for her. Their eyes scan her with an intensity that she's familiar with, the same kind of look she's felt before. She doesn't react, doesn't flinch. They step forward, blocking her path. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us for verification," one officer says, his tone neutral but sharp. Nia doesn't speak. She simply nods, her gaze never wavering. She's escorted through the airport with an air of finality, her every movement being observed, measured. The staff watch her with suspicion, whispering under their breath. The stares are heavier now, more pointed. She feels the weight of their judgment, but she doesn't let it show. They lead her to a back room, cold and sterile. It's nothing more than a small empty space, and yet it feels like a cage. The officer's body language is telling. They treat her like a threat, like someone to be contained, controlled. She's asked to sit, and the door is closed behind. Her supervisor enters shortly after, his face grim. "We need to verify your identity," he says, sliding her ticket across the table. "This doesn't match up, your seat. It's not supposed to be for you." Nia doesn't flinch, she doesn't speak. Instead, she quietly opens the envelope on her lap, the one she's carried so carefully. As the paper unfolds, everything changes. Nia slowly unfolds the contents of the envelope, her fingers deliberate, careful. The paper is thick, official, and the moment it's exposed, a heavy silence fills the room. The staff members freeze, their eyes locked on the document. In her hands, as if the very air has changed. Inside, there's a signed compliance agreement, official, binding. The words 4B merger are prominently displayed, a deal of immense weight, but it's the name at the top that catches everyone off guard. Nia Bennett, lead signatory for Nexus Capital Holdings. The room seems to tilt, the tension thickening as the implications sink in. Nia's name on a document that holds the power to change everything. The merger involving the airline she just flew with is tied directly to her signature. Her eyes never leave the paper as she turns it slightly, revealing a chilling truth. Her signature is the key to the merger's fate. It's not just a formality, it's a power that can approve or cancel the entire $4 billion deal in an instant. The staff, once so sure of themselves, now seem small and uncertain. The supervisor's face drains of color. His hands tremble slightly as he reaches for his phone, dialing without hesitation. "Call legal," he says, his voice strained. "Now." They can feel it in the room, the shift from casual suspicion to full-blown panic. Nia is no longer just a passenger. She's a force, one they can't control. The atmosphere in the back room shifts dramatically. As the supervisor fumbles to call legal, the room is charged with a sudden urgency. Internal flags are reversed at once, emails fired off in every direction, landing in inboxes with a sense of cold finality. The urgency is palpable. Something is happening, something big. A silent audit is set into motion without delay. Security footage from the terminal is pulled, audio from the cabin is reviewed. Crew logs are scrutinized with a precision that would make even the most seasoned investigators pause. Everything is being examined. The looks, the whispers, the deliberate neglect of Nia Bennett. No stone is left unturned. As the audit unfolds, those who mistreated her, the attendants, the officers, the supervisor, find themselves facing the consequences of their actions. The very staff who had been so dismissive, who had passed judgment, without knowing who she was, are now on the receiving end of immediate suspensions. Their once confident demeanor has evaporated, replaced by fear and confusion. Corporate headquarters sends a directive that echoes throughout the room. Cease all actions involving Ms. Bennett, effective immediately. The words are clear, and their weight is undeniable. Nia Bennett is not just a passenger on this flight. She is a force with influence, with power far beyond the reach of the staff who thought they could dismiss her. The reversal is swift. The balance of power has shifted. Justice is already in motion. The ripple effect of the incident is immediate and severe. Regional crew members are swiftly pulled from all international flights, their assignments reassigned with an air of finality. The airline, once so proud of its smooth operations, is now facing a full-blown compliance and ethics nightmare. The incident has become the subject of heated internal debates, with every department scrambling to address the fallout. It's no longer just a matter of miscommunication. It's a massive failure in judgment, and it's playing out for the world to see. In a high-rise boardroom, the CEO of the airline is briefed on the situation. The words hit him like a ton of bricks. She wasn't a VIP, she was the verifier. His face tightens, and his gaze hardens as the weight of the truth sinks in. The woman they'd dismissed as a mere passenger had been the one person with the power to either approve or cancel their $4 billion merger. And now that merger is placed on hold, with everything on the line. As the news circulates through the corporate world, the tension is palpable. In a tense, hushed meeting, one line from Nia Bennett lingers in the minds of those in charge. "You judged me by the seat I sat in, not by the chair I own." That simple truth shakes the boardroom to its core. It's not just a moment of realization, it's the turning point. The system has been shaken, and those who thought they had power are now faced with the consequences of their actions. Naya steps out of the back room, her movements deliberate and steady, as if nothing has changed. She walks through the terminal with the same calm, the same silence that she's carried with her since the moment she boarded. The noise of the airport, the chatter, the hurried footsteps, none of it seems to affect her. She moves through the crowd as if untouched by the chaos that had just erupted around her. As she walks, a group of staff members stand in hushed conversation nearby. They glance at her, their eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. "That's the woman they pulled from the plane," one whispers to the other, the words heavy with realization. But Naya doesn't acknowledge them. She doesn't respond, doesn't react. She continues walking, her presence alone speaking volumes. The whispers fade into the background as she moves through the crowd like a shadow, silent, powerful, and unbothered. As the camera pulls back, the voiceover begins, soft but firm, closing the story with a lingering truth. Power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits, watches, and when the moment comes, it lands like justice. The screen fades to black, the weight of the words hanging in the air, leaving a sense of closure and unspoken authority that lingers long after the video ends.